Alright, so every sport has like a basic skill set you need. Like basketball, you have to know how to dribble the ball. Baseball, you have to be able to swing a bat. The sport I'm going to talk about is wrestling, and one of the basic skills you need is to perform a shot. Now, before we actually get to the shot, you need two skills to perform the actual shot. The first one would be a stance, and the second one is a stance walk. Now this guy's in a stance. It's basically a crouch position, and when you get in your stance, either your left foot or your right foot is going to be forward, which is your shooting foot. So it's the foot you're more comfortable with. And the stance walk is basically walking in the stance. When you stance walk, you're never moving forward or back. When you're in your stance, you're always moving to the side, and you lead with one foot and the other foot follows, depending on the direction you go. Now this is the first step. When you take a shot, when you're in your stance, you shape your feet up into an L. So your strong foot is going to be forward. So if your right foot is, if your left foot is your strong foot, your L is going to look like this. If your right foot is your strong foot, it's going to look like that. And ignore the fact they're both left feet. And then after you get into that, you're going to change levels. Changing levels is getting even lower than your previous stance form. So if you're already crouched low like this, you go even lower to get ready to take your shot. And then that's when the shot takes place. Now, there's a couple steps to performing a complete shot. The first one is you're going to place your shooting foot in front, in between the opponent's 2 feet. So if you're facing him, his feet are over here, your foot's going to come in between his other 2 feet. And from there, you take your shot. When you take the shot, there's multiple shots you can take. What I'm trying to teach you guys is the double leg. So what you guys would do is, when you put your foot in between his 2 other feet, you would use your arms and reach around both his back knees, and then you would pull that up while you push forward, just like this guy's doing right here. Now, for smaller people, they tend to drop to their knee. So when that foot comes forward, you're going to drop all the way to a knee, and then post up with your outer foot, and then complete the shot. Then this is the shot done in one motion. And yeah, so basically you put all those motions and steps into one quick motion, and then that's how you perform the shot.
That TV's a liability.
Did you just jump to hit it? Wrestling.
It's coming out next week.
Yeah.
She was like, get up. I was like, okay.
I already got my keys.
I was like, no, Jimmy didn't do that. Jimmy didn't do it with water.
And it's a day out for
I threw it away. Wait, do you want me to pull it out?
What? Jimmy!
I'm getting it.
No, Jimmy's fine. I don't want it now.
It's in the shot.
Jimmy, I don't want it anymore. It's empty.
The script is
Right.
right. It's like,
But there's comments where Batman beats Superman.
I don't want it.
yeah, there's comments,
Ben,
but the one that they made series on.
Ben Affleck is good.
Have you seen the trailer for it?
I said, please fill with seawater.
Good. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
All right, the common reference to skill sets and comparisons to other sports I think is fine. That'll bring people in. You explain what your focus is going to be, so you got a pretty clear statement of purpose. The preview, you get your stance and then your stance walk. I couldn't make out the stance walk at the first. I wasn't quite sure what you were talking about. It wasn't until the second time that you said it, and plus you added the visual that I understood what you were saying. So the connection between the taking the shot and the stance, I think, is explained reasonably well. Your explanations are okay as far as they go. I'll tell you the thing that helps the most. I thought that your body movement and gestures when you're showing us the stance and the walk that you're doing, those were pretty effective. The problem is that sometimes you're turning around and having to look at the screen to follow what it is that you're talking about. Instead of letting the screen back you up, it seems like you were kind of following the screen, and that felt a little bit awkward. It takes you out of the speech a bit. And it becomes even more obvious at the end when you have to have that dead time trying to look for your video clip that you want to show. The video clip's not even that long, but because you have that dead time, it takes us, like I said, out of the presentation. It reminds us that your focus really seems to be on those visuals rather than on your speaking about this particular subject. Your voice, you project pretty well. You've got a reasonable variety in pitch. There's just not enough opportunity to evaluate in detail some of your skill sets, for instance, because you speak for basically under 4 minutes, and probably about 45 seconds of that is the dead time that we're getting set up on that. So it's a very brief amount of time, and a lot of things that you're doing have to do with presenting the visual materials instead of talking to us about. So I'm trying to figure out, well, why is the shot the most important thing here? Why isn't ducking the shot the most important thing, or popping them in the face as they go by the most important thing? I'm sorry, that's MMA. That's a little bit different. We need a little bit more context, a little bit more of a story, for instance, to integrate in there. I assume that you're trying to teach us something. The truth is, you can't teach us to do this without us getting up and going through that whole process also. So you kind of have to do a combination of teaching and showing us, and I think you need to have a story about that. Is there a wrestling match that ended so quickly because somebody had the perfect shot that they used? Or is there an adequate defense against those kinds of shots? You say you got to get your foot between the 2 feet of the other guy. I'm going, doesn't the other guy know that? Doesn't he just make sure that you can't do that kind of thing? Is there some way that block it? So there's just, you've sort of narrowed your subject down a little too much. I think you need to kind of step back and give us a little bit more context. Still talk about that, but give it a little bit more context. Tell us a story as you're going along with it. Don't make it a technical thing like we're all wrestlers and you're teaching us on the first day in wrestling class, here's what you got to be able to do. Remember, it's a more general audience situation that you're dealing with. All right, thank you.